Welcome to the ring and all other sports. Tonight, I'm doing 2 shows, but the first one is the one we're going to focus on right now.
Yes.
Is that we're doing this at 5 o'clock. Brandon Belanger for the 6th time.
6th time.
He would have been on months ago, but I don't remember if I was sick or had to work. One or the other.
No, you had to reschedule because you
working?
You were working.
Yeah, that's what happens to me all the time. I only got 2 guys, so if they both call in sick, I'm screwed.
Yeah.
And that happens quite a bit.
Yes.
Especially on show nights. I want to choke them. But we got a lot of stuff to cover.
Yes, we do.
We definitely, I just want to let everybody know we're going to be talking about one of your best friends, Tanner, later on.
One of my good friends,
but
Tanner.
we're going to bring that up a little later.
Yep.
Let's get right into it.
All right.
How is your training going at the New England Pro Wrestling Academy?
So I've been training for 6 months. Unfortunately, I missed the last 3 weeks because my good friend passed away.
Yes.
So I was trying to deal with that.
Yep.
I got really sick the week before to the point
Right.
I was in the hospital, and then last week I was trying to recover from everything. But I'll be back on Tuesday,
Nice.
ready to go. But training has been really good. It has its good days, it has its bad days.
Right.
I honestly feel really good training there because
Good.
for the first time in my life I can say I'm living, not just my dream, but living in general. Because
Right.
the past 7 or 8 years, I'm not gonna lie, it's been a real struggle throughout my whole life, mentally and physically. But ever since I've been signing up, it's been great, and I've been training with the best trainers. They can be hard on you at sometimes,
And as they should be.
As they should be, and that's their job. And
Yep.
if they didn't do that, they wouldn't show that they care. But they show that they care by yelling at you and saying,
Yep.
"Get this right,"
Right.
But I love it there. The training has been going good.
I think when you went to the first fantasy camp that I know of. Did you went to one before that too, right? No.
I've been to 3. The first one I
yeah.
went to was February 2018.
Right. So with the first one after I had met you,
Yeah.
I had told you, I said, if you're going to go and do it, that is definitely the place to go.
And it is.
And there's nothing against any other trainers or any other schools, but if my son or my grandson or nephew, that's where I would send them.
Yes.
That would be the first place I'd send them.
Honestly, I think in my mind, it's probably the top 5 wrestling schools in the country.
Yeah,
just
maybe
me.
top 3.
Top 3.
Seriously.
But honestly, it's a really good school. If you guys want to definitely try it out, definitely go on the New England Pro Wrestling Facebook page, and also check it out on newenglandprowrestling.com for more information. It's definitely a school to check out for sure.
Yeah, guys, you definitely should. It's a great, if you really, and if you're unsure, next fantasy camp, go to that one, like Brandon did, like Dan did.
Yeah,
Dan got to live out his dream, our friend Dan Boley, and try it.
Yeah.
And that was really good because he's still kicking himself in the butt now that he didn't do it years ago.
Yeah.
It
happens.
It's not too late, Dan. I know it'd be a later start than most people, but it ain't too late.
I started at 27 at first. I thought it was too late for me, but then I was like, you know what? It's never too late to live your dreams.
I heard Diamond Dallas Page didn't start till he was in his 30s.
Yeah.
Seriously.
And one of my good friends, Jason Pepe, who I had on my podcast.
Yes.
I think he's 33, 34, and he started doing it at that age.
I heard he's killing it too.
He's doing pretty good at the school.
Yeah.
I love him to death. He's a great guy.
Nice. You got a lot of great guys, and especially a lot of guys that just started working the shows.
Yeah.
They're in the name game. Hopefully we'll get to that. If we do play the name game, we have time.
Yeah.
I'm going to start with those guys.
Okay.
Okay?
For sure.
All right. So have you thought about, this is going to come up too later on, so if I ask your question in advance, I'm sorry, but, we'll touch up when it's your turn.
Yeah.
Have you thought about what your wrestling name would be? You thrown any, to yourself? I know.
I've definitely thrown out the third fantasy camp when I really signed up for the school.
Right.
I did the whole B13.
Yep.
Because a lot of people ask me, what does the B13 stand for? So the B is my first name, Brandon.
Right.
And if you put the 1 and 3 together, it makes another B, so for Belanger.
Yep.
So B13, Brandon Belanger. And also 13's been my favorite number since I was 5 years old. And I think of it as a lucky number
Right.
than a bad luck number. I haven't thought that far in advance because I'm mostly focusing on the training.
Right, as you should.
As I should. I don't know what kind of gimmick I want to do,
Right.
but if I was to have a name, I would definitely want to be called B13 Brandon Belanger, or change my first name if I have to, but something with a B. But I definitely want to have the Belanger name in there in the near future. But right now, just focusing on the wrestling part.
And can I ask you a question?
Of course.
Because we both have we're both adopted children.
Of course.
Is that one of the reasons why you want to keep the Belanger name?
That is exactly 110%. The
Excellent.
reason being is because, my mom and dad, Noni and Wayne, who you've met,
Yes.
are not biologically my parents. They're my grandparents, but they'll always be my parents.
Absolutely.
And I definitely want to keep that name alive.
Yep.
And
Honor them.
All of them. And that's the real reason why I signed up to try to become a pro wrestler myself, is because, there's not many kids that don't have father figures or mother figures. So whether I'm a heel or a face, I want to be an influence on kids. That's one of the main reasons why I signed up in the first place, because I want to show them like, hey, you might not have your parents, but you have a hero that's there for you, and no matter what. So that's what my goal is in professional wrestling.
That's excellent. That is excellent. Like I said, I knew I could ask you that because, as you know, I was adopted. So I was adopted as a baby by my aunt and uncle, who I never would call my aunt and uncle. I only say that when I'm telling the story. That's my mother and father. And they've never made me feel like I wasn't theirs, ever. All right. What is the hardest part of training?
Blow-ups. Definitely the blow-ups, because we do like a lot of like conditioning training, and we do like a lot of cardio training, and squats, a lot of squats. I tell everybody, I'm like, if you're gonna sign up, make sure you work on your leg work. Make sure you work on your cardio. Because we do like a lot of squats, man. There's a point, like if we have like a line of students, Brian Ferry will pick like 8 different students, and we'll be like, okay, ready, and we'll do like 25 squats. Next person, 25 more squats. Next person, 20. We'll do over like 200 squats, and it's like legit, and it's all about the training technique. Like I said, the squats, conditioning, it's the roughest. But
you weren't in bad shape when you started. You know what I mean? I'm just saying, but you definitely have gotten in phenomenal shape since you started. There's no doubt.
When I first started, before I started training, I weighed 251 pounds, maybe more.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought about 220. Really?
251. And then when I started, training for the past 6 months, I went down to 220. Now I'm at 218 actually. So I've lost a lot of weight.
You look good, kid.
Thank
you really do.
Appreciate it.
You do. You're welcome. All right. So you've been on the show so many times.
As a fan,
you are the perfect person for me to try something new.
Okay.
And I talked to you about it beforehand.
Yes.
And you had to point out earlier. That's an inside joke between us. All right, Brandon. I know you like all types of music. I do know that. But what's like your favorite type of music?
Personally, for me, I'm not really into like the newer genre nowadays. But I do like like rap, rock, all sorts of music. But I would have to say like a rock rap mixture together. Personally, like my favorite band is Linkin Park. Number one favorite band, and unfortunately, great band. Unfortunately, a couple years ago, Chester Bennington, God bless his soul, passed away. And the thing is, what people don't know, I was supposed to go see them. I think it was in Mansfield, Mass, and he died a week before the concert. And that was their first show before the rest of their tour.
Really?
Yeah, so it was heartbreaking. That was going to be my 3rd time seeing him, but I saw them twice, so I was very happy enough that I got to see them twice, and great band to watch. Did you
see the video after he had died? They did a show somewhere. I want to say it was not in the United States.
Right.
And the crowd sang Chester's part. Did you see that
video?
Yeah, I
did. That was very emotional.
I forget which song it was because they have so many great songs.
Yeah.
But that was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Man. I cried.
Yeah.
And I'm not, I like Linkin Park, but I'm not like you do.
Yeah.
But literally, man, I cried in my living room listening to it, watching that video, knowing that these people love that guy so much. It was amazing.
And it's crazy because I remember, as I'm not going to lie, as my fan self being a fan of Chester Bennington, the lead singer, he did have a Hybrid Theory, the first logo of the first album on his leg, and I actually did the same thing on the other leg, and I was hoping to meet him in person, take a picture and go like this to him, like with our tattoos, but unfortunately never got to happen. But they're like one of the greatest like rock bands of all time in my eyes.
Who's the other singer that guy with the dark hair?
The rapper / piano player / guitarist, that is Mike Shinoda.
You can meet him and show him?
I would definitely, for sure. I know every band member's name.
He'd love that dude,
Heck
if you showed
dude.
him. He really would.
That'd be awesome.
Awesome. And like you said, you like rap too. So any other for the rock bands, you into like bands from like when Linkin Park started, like bands like Papa Roach?
Of course.
Maybe Seether.
Yeah, of course. I was more like into like the '90s, early 2000s type music, and you can tell from the way I dress today. But I definitely was like really into like Limp Bizkit, Korn, Slipknot, and definitely like the '90s bands. And I liked a lot of like the '80s and some of the '70s bands. But those were the type of genre of music I was like listening to.
Well, that's when you were growing up too.
Yeah, for sure.
Excellent. All right. So what concerts have you gone to so far, and what's actually been your favorite? Or you can even name a couple if you like. We got plenty of time.
Yeah. God, I've probably been to more wrestling shows than I have concerts. To be honest, I've been to more I've been to more local shows more than anything. Like the band Potsy that I interviewed. I've been to a lot of their shows. They play kick-ass music. But The first concert I went to was Linkin Park, and that was back in February of 2008.
And where was that show?
That was in Manchester, New Hampshire at the Verizon Wireless Arena at the time. And that was probably like one of the best concerts I went to. But when I saw them the second time in Mansfield back in, I think, summer of 2012, blow it out of proportion because because the reason being is because what they usually do for like one of their final songs is Bleed It Out, which is like one of their hit songs.
I love that song.
Awesome song.
Yeah.
And then midway and during that time, the Beastie Boys, another great group. I remember Adam Yauch, one of the members in the band, passed away during that time.
Him and Mike D passed, right?
No, it was just Mike, Adam Yauch, MCA.
No, but I mean, like before that though, two of them are gone now.
Are they really?
Yeah, there was only one Beastie Boy
I didn't know
left.
that. But anyways, Adam Yauch at the time passed away, so they did a cover of Sabotage. So for me, it was like I'm never going to see the Beastie Boys, so that was awesome. So that was like one of the best concerts I've been to. But I've seen Korn, I've seen Slipknot, I've seen Prospect Hill, I've seen a lot of great bands, and awesome.
I'm glad you brought up Sabotage. I don't know if you know this, but Eddie Edwards, the great wrestler from New England,
of course,
former Ring of Honor World Champion, former TNA World Champion. He used to be in a tag team with the late great DC Dillinger. Their tag team was called Sabotage.
Oh, really?
And they used to come out to that. I'm telling you, that's still to this day my favorite entrance song.
Yeah.
That, and then I have to say Johnny Vegas. I listen to a lot of Elvis when I was a kid, so I love any Elvis songs. But all right, that's awesome. Yeah. How about rap concert? Have you had any favorite rap concerts?
I've never been to a rap concert, just rock, but I would love to go to a rap concert just to see what it's like. Right. But I'm sure it's pretty interesting.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure it is. I've never been. I'm a rock guy. I'm a rock
guy too.
I'm old. I was born in 1965. Really, I am. There's no ways about it.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm old, but I love the music today. I love the music from the 90s, 80s, 70s, 60s. Music. Without music in this world, life would suck.
And honestly, and the truth being, when I was really starting to watch WWE during the time when music was like really like starting to get edgy, like in 2002, I got more into music because of wrestling.
Oh, nice.
And that's what people didn't know. Right. I got into Linkin Park because of my sister back in the day, and more rock music because of wrestling, and then I started hearing more of the bands and more of the music, and that's really how it happened.
Yeah. Now your sister has one child?
My sister Megan, not Jocelyn. My sister Megan, that's the one. She actually has two boys.
I see pictures with the kids.
Yeah, I got two nephews and a niece/goddaughter.
Give him a shout out.
Yeah, I love you, Jameson, Jackson, and Livy. Love you all.
Nice.
Love you all.
All right. Obviously, now you said how much you love Linkin Park, so I'm sure this is going to be your answer. But favorite song?
Oh God, it's same thing with wrestling. Like I always have to do a top 7, but I'll try. I've been listening more like music in the car to like pump me up before I go to wrestling. But like when it comes to Linkin Park, I know it's not a popular one. It's called Little Things Give You Away. It's a nice acoustic, more mellowed out song from them. It was from their third album, Minutes to Midnight. I just think that was
What's the name of it? 'Cause I want to write it down.
Little Things Give You Away.
Little Things Give You Away.
It's a very, very mellow type song, very beautiful sound to it, and I like that kind of music, really mellow. Not just rock, but like I really like that mellow stuff. But when it comes to the oldest stuff, Paper Cut, that was like one of my favorite songs from them from their first album. That was
I'm a huge acoustic music fan, and I do that on Sundays.
Yeah.
That's what I do. I like listen to music for like 5 hours. Isaiah slept over this weekend, and every time I was going to play, he's like, "Poppy, stop." I'm like, "Put your headphones on, go in the other room. I don't care what you do, but this is my house, and it's Sunday morning, and I'm listening to music." All right, we're gonna move on from music into television shows.
Ooh, okay.
Because I watch a lot of TV. I joke around with my mother all the time and tell her I'm a professional TV watcher, and she says it's too bad you can't make money off it.
Yeah, right.
What is your favorite TV show, and what are you watching now?
Oh, geez. There's been so many TV shows over the years that I've been really into.
Yep.
I gotta go with Sons of Anarchy. That was like one of my favorite shows.
I like that show a lot too.
I just thought the story plot of it was good. The last season was kind of questionable because it kind of felt like they rushed everything towards the last because everyone was like dying from the show.
Yeah.
But Sons of Anarchy, that was just an eye opener for me, and my parents got me into it, and It was a good show, and that's why when I made one of my T-shirts, it was called Sons of Belanger, and instead of the A, it was a 13. And I try not to make it look too much.
One.
Yo, did you get that one? Yeah, nice. Yeah, it was just a fascinating show, so I had to do that for sure. But Sons of Anarchy for sure.
See, I like that show a lot too. The only problem I had with it was that they would kill 27 people and go to jail for a week. But it still was a great show. It just was kind of funny.
And sometimes I wonder. I was like, how the hell did they get away with majority of those kills? It was
ridiculous. They say, right, because they ran that town. Remember, that was the big thing. They might have been crooks and all that.
Yeah.
But they also did great things for their town.
Yes.
Just real quick, I just want to take, because my favorite shows of all time is Breaking Bad, The Wire, and The Shield. Right now, I'm watching Snowfall. Have you checked that one out?
I have not. Is it good?
I think it's the best show on television right now.
Nice.
Are you watching The Mayans?
I am watching. Wow. I watched the first season.
Yep.
It started off really slow because, and I get it. It's Kurt Sutter, the guy who directed and written the show.
He has to build it.
The first season was kind of slow.
Yep.
It's not like Sons of Anarchy. It's like there's not much violence in it yet. There's not much craziness.
Right.
The last episode though was an eye opener because you see Smiley/Happy.
Yep.
And then you're like, at first my fanboy came out. I was like, oh, it's Smiley, it's Happy. Yeah. And then towards the end, you find out that he killed the prospect's mom.
Spoiler alert.
No, sorry.
That's sorry. Right. No, but spoiler alert, coming up on the next episode is when Happy says to him, he goes, either I'm dead or you're dead. Yeah. It's going to be really season. Good. I like it a lot.
It's really good.
I do. All right. What about movies? I know you're a horror movie guy.
Oh, dude, I love
big time.
I love comedy, action, horror movies.
But you do love horrors. I know.
I do. I love horror movies. Like I definitely go to Rock and Shock past couple of years for those conventions. Yeah. Those are awesome. Horror movie wise, I mean, we'll go with 3 different categories: comedy, action, and horror.
Sounds good.
So when it comes to horror movies, definitely the Saw trilogy, Saw 1 through. The reason why I like those movies and people think I'm sadistic for liking the movie, I think the guy is a hero in my eyes, just because if you really watch the movies and really understand what the plot is, he's not really a killer. He puts these guys in these traps to show hey, you've done wrong in your life.
Right.
You have a second chance at redemption.
Yes.
So if you get rid of an arm, you saved your own life. Yeah, you're going to lose a little bit of blood, a good amount of it, but you lived for a reason because you want a second chance at redemption. Now, if you didn't cut your arm off or whatever, then you didn't really care about your life or anybody else's life, so you just died for the stupidest reason.
Right.
And in my eyes, I feel like that guy is like a hero towards others, know, and he saved certain people personally. That's
I never looked at it that way, but you're absolutely right about that. Every person that he captures and puts in there is not an innocent person.
Yeah. And I got that tattooed on my leg, really? Billy the Puppet. Yeah, so that's why.
All right. Now you're into comics, or you used to be.
I'm still into comics. Okay. Yeah, for sure.
What's your favorite comic that you're reading now?
I've been reading. I like the Joker comics. I definitely like the Power Ranger comics that have been coming out. That's been really good.
You grew up on the Power Rangers.
I grew up with the Power Rangers. Yeah, still am today. Right. 27. What's up? Anyways, the truth is, I definitely like the Walking Dead series comic books, and it's way better than the show. And honestly, what people don't know. The book came out before the show. It came out back in 2003, and the show came out in 2010.
Right.
Just the book is just way more intense. Definitely more depth into it, and I like the book. It was such an eye opener. I started reading it, I think, in 2013.
Okay.
And I have every single volume 1 through 32. So it's an awesome comic book.
Do you watch The Walking Dead?
I watched the first 3 seasons.
Okay.
I tried watching a little bit of the 4th, and I couldn't get into it. And I know there's people that are still big into it, but personally, I try telling people, I'm like, listen, just read the book. It's much more better. Right. And people are all into the whole Daryl character. He's not even in the comic books.
I know he's not, which is kind of cool though in a way to build a character up so strong that's not even part of the original where they took the story.
Yeah, and you watch the show. And Lori, the character, Rick's wife.
I never liked her.
Yeah, and nobody liked her in the comics.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah, nobody liked her in the comics because she was kind of like the same way.
Yeah.
And what people don't know, she was still alive when she had the baby.
Right.
And and I'm going to throw this out there, a little story. So in the book, she had the baby, and the governor went to their hideout at the jailhouse and he started shooting up at them.
Yeah.
So that happened in the book, but Lori's still alive with the baby. So this is where it gets intense in the show. So the governor's shooting at everybody. He saw Lori, shot her, and she's like running, trying to save the baby. She shot her. Bullet went through her back and hits the baby. She falls and lands on the baby. They both die.
Wow.
That's why I tell people you want to read the book.
Right. It's a lot different.
It's a lot different, more depth into it.
I almost stopped watching it that one season before the Alpha. So I guess it was before last season. At the end of the season before that. So what? I think it's coming up on season 9.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll say at the end of season 7, I was ready to not watch it.
Yeah.
First episode of season 8 sucked me right back in. That Alpha character, Alpha and Beta.
Yeah.
Who actually Beta is.
Yeah.
Opie.
Yeah, Opie.
From the Sons of Anarchy.
Which I found out, I was like, no way.
Yeah,
That's
he was
awesome.
in another show called The Outsiders. It was on the WGN network.
Yeah,
I actually
remember that.
watched it. It was really
He's
good.
a good actor,
I
man.
was kind of bummed that they ended it.
Yeah.
But, all right, listen now, before we get into the fan questions, I want you to, if it's okay with you.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you walk me through your day when there's a show? Now, you're not wrestling yet, so I know you're there. You go, you help set up and things. Just like, take me through your day, what you're thinking and all that.
Like when it comes to setting up the show?
Yeah, like you go to work, obviously, right? You get out of work.
My life. Okay, so I work like 6 days out of the week,
right?
And I work like over 50 hours a week.
Yep.
I train mostly 2 days out of the week, but I'm trying to do 3.
Yep.
That's what I'm going to start doing this week.
Good.
But yeah, I go to 2 to 3 times a week when it comes to training, and it is very tiring. I'm not going to lie. It can be very exhausting, but it's keeping me motivated though, and it's making me want to keep going.
Good.
In life. And like I said, wrestling has been very therapeutic for me. Like doing it itself. But yeah, like I wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning. Go to work, do my 8, 9, 10-hour shift, and go home, take a quick shower, go to wrestling training on my Tuesdays and Thursdays, sometimes Saturdays. And and that's what I do. And then when it comes to wrestling shows, I ask my manager, I'm like, hey, I need 2 days off.
Right.
Just reason being is because Friday, well, this is how it goes. So if we were training on a Thursday, a night before the show, so we would train, then we'd have to go to the warehouse, and then we have to, put all the ring and all the equipment onto a truck, get ready for the next day. Probably won't be home till like at least 11 o'clock. And then
so it's better to not have to work.
Yeah, better off not to work. And then the next day I sleep it off, eat and do my thing, trying to get a haircut. And then we go there at a certain time to set up the ring.
Now, what time about do you usually?
So I usually,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, like around,
precise.
It's like around 4 or 5 o'clock. We be there and we, set up the ring and we set up the stage. And it's not just me, it's everybody.
Right, of course.
And we have a pretty good ring crew, I think.
Excellent.
And so then we do that, and then they'll ask us to be security. So some of us, as you see, will be security throughout the night. And so we'll do that, and then at the end of the show, we have to clean up everything, put everything back on the truck, back to the the storage unit, and probably won't get home till like at least 2 o'clock in the morning. To me, like everyone's like, well, why are you doing it? Because like some people do know, like we don't get paid for it. But for me, it's like
that's right.
I'd rather
paying your dues, kid.
And it's called paying your dues,
that's
that's what it is. And personally, for me, I like doing it because it's just like you're getting experience out of the business. And personally, I just like doing it just because I like doing it. I have a full-time job where I make my money. That's where I make my money.
Right.
This is something I just love to do. And then if I got to just set up the ring for the rest of the time, I'm fine with that.
Right.
I like what I'm doing. I'm actually, for the first time in my life, and I've been telling people this, I've been happy for the past like 5 to 6 months than I have been in the past 7 or 8 years. Because I did go with like a little problem with, life. And
we'll leave it at that. I know what you're saying.
And it was very rough. And I said to myself, like, why am I doing this to myself? So I actually took the training really more seriously. And I said to myself, you did this, you signed up for a reason, do it. Right. And don't let anybody like take you down, and that's what I've been doing. Yeah, some days wrestling practice can be tough. Yeah, sometimes they'll get down on you, and sometimes like you get disappointed in yourself when you're not landing a move correctly or whatever. But for me, it's like a great motivational like starter for me, and I love my trainers, and I love what I'm doing. And
that's excellent.
I'm loving life and loving everybody. So.
I remember talking to you about, and we're not going to bring up anybody's name or anything, but I remember saying to you use a certain something for motivation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like instead of looking at it saying, oh, I can't believe someone's saying that, F them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And keep working hard.
And that's what I'm doing.
And that's how you show that person up, by becoming a great wrestler.
Yeah.
And you're at the right place.
Yes.
A great student now, but someday, hopefully. I didn't write this down, but you were a part of a match. I know. But
Yeah.
I just wanna know, how did you feel about it? Though? You must have been so nervous, especially because you knew you were going to be in it, right?
No, I did not know. So it was crazy because I remember Anthony Green said he was doing, the whole. What was it? The bachelor party.
Yeah.
So I go in there and I was like, okay, if it's a bachelor party, you got to dress up. And I remember I dressed up. Everyone's like calling me Baron Corbin or Brandon Corbin.
Yeah, you had a vest on.
Yeah, I had a vest on. Yeah, and everyone was calling me Brandon Corbin, and everyone was giving me crap about it. And Anthony Green's girlfriend was like, hey, at least he's dressed up for the occasion. So shut up. He's trying. Yeah.
She knew.
So I remember we were doing that, and I figured we were just there for the party.
Yep.
And then coming to find out the day before the show. Everybody that was part of that was in the battle royal. I was like, what? So for me, I was nervous as hell, even though what I was doing was what I was doing.
Right. Yeah.
And then it was like, I remember I was like going in there, like getting ready for it, and it was so mind-boggling. And everyone came up to me, it was like, you nervous? I was like, yeah, I'm really nervous. And a lot of people did tell me, they were like, good, because if you weren't nervous, you shouldn't be here.
That's right.
And I was really super nervous. I didn't want to mess up at all and make sure I did everything right. And I think it came out okay for what I've seen.
Trust me, you did good.
Yeah,
you did
good. And it was a lot of fun, and it was crazy because like once I went out there, like the nerves were like gone, and I felt very confident.
How long did it take for the nerves?
So like when the nerves were there, but like once we went out there, it was a lot of fun, and the confidence started building up a little bit. And I remember like just taking off my shirt, and I remember I saw Steven and his wife in the crowd, and they go to like a lot of chaotic shows, and he's a good friend of mine. And they were like cheering for me, like they're like, yeah, Brandon. I was like, yeah, you ready to do this? And then I got eliminated the first minute and a half, but it was a lot of fun though.
I was glad I was there, to be honest with you. I didn't obviously you didn't know, we didn't know, like me and Dan. I was just so happy to see you do it.
But it was an honor and it was a privilege to do something like that, and I thank Anthony Green for that.
So listen, we got a few fan questions. Let's bang these out so we can get on to talk about Tanner.
Yes.
All right, Jared Dumling. That's how you say it.
Dumbling.
Thank you.
Yes.
Sorry, Jared. I butcher everybody's name, so
Love
don't
you,
feel
Jared.
bad. Brandon, I understand that you're a wrestler. A wrestler in training needs to put in work and improve each day to make the debut. With that being said, do they work on what persona you will be and Mike work as well? Any ideas to what you want? You kind of answered this already.
Yeah.
Maybe you can just touch on it quickly for Jared. I feel you'd be a better heel than a face, but could make either work. I think opposite. Because you got the baby face.
Yeah,
no offense, but I think you'd make a good baby face.
I do have like a 12-year-old face going on. So personally, no, they don't like really go with like the personas. They want to make sure you're doing the training properly and wrestling properly in the ring. And that's what I'm really focusing on. I remember we did like a promo class one day, and that was like several months ago.
Right.
And at first I was pretty confident about it. Then I got really nervous and I kind of messed up. So right now I'm just focusing on the wrestling, focusing on the training. Good. And when the time comes, maybe I'll come up with a persona. I mean, I have like all these different ideas of what I like to be. Like personally, I would like to be a horror movie type persona, but it's very hard because there's so many people that are doing it nowadays. But for me, right now, just the training. That's it. Just the training.
Okay. Kat Dion.
Yes.
Wants to know what type of character you want to portray, and you just said it.
I just answered it, Kat.
When you start wrestling, what kind of message do you think it will send to the audience? How about that?
All right.
If it was a horror guy.
If it was a horror guy, I definitely would be scaring everybody in the crowd for sure. What kind of message would I send? I mean, if I was like a horror movie type character, I would like people to like show like, hey, if you have a good imagination, show it off.
Right.
For me, like I said, for the reason why I signed up for pro wrestling, that's the type of message I want to send.
Right.
Being an influence on kids. But like I said, if I was going to be like a horror movie character, it would be more just like showing your imagination and telling everybody like, don't give up on your like dreams and imaginations of what you want to do in life. So that's pretty much it, I guess you can say.
All right, excellent.
Yeah.
A friend of ours, Nathan Fuller.
Who
wants to come back on. Definitely you and him will come on and do the show. It'd be fun.
Yes.
He really would love to come on with you.
Heck yeah.
How long will Kofi be the SmackDown champ, and how long will Seth be the Raw champ?
Personally, I mean, honestly,
it's a guessing game.
Rollins, it's a guessing game because like he won it and then he lost it and then he won it. So I don't know with Seth Rollins. Kofi, I think he personally, like other people are thinking differently about it it, but I think Kofi's doing a great job as a WWE champion and putting New England on the map. Personally, I'm very proud of him. Personally, with Brock Lesnar, because I know they're doing like a rivalry between the two now. What I've seen and what I've heard, because I really haven't caught up with wrestling since I started training, but been keeping up with pay-per-views. But honestly, I think Kofi can keep it for another couple months. Personally, that's just my opinion.
Yeah.
I can't predict what's going to happen. It's just one of those things you gotta wait and see what happens. But I think he's doing a good job as champion.
Nice. I want to see Big E turn, and you know what I mean.
Yeah,
that's what I want.
That's the guy that we
all see him hang on to the belt for as long as possible because he's a local guy. We love him. And I don't know if you know this. I don't remember the second name, but I had read that Kofi's already been champion longer than Roman Reigns, all of his reigns, and there was another guy. I don't know if it was I don't know who it was. It might have been the Fiend.
Probably, yeah, the Fiend, because he only had it for like a couple months during that time.
And so far, they say that Kofi in his one title reign has had it longer than both those guys combined.
It's crazy.
Isn't it crazy?
It's crazy.
Nathan, you had another question, but I kind of had to bump it because I have a whole bunch and we really got to get into other things. We talked about this real quick before we went on here. Dave Donovan, there's a picture to this, and we'll add it to it. Why are you applying a sugar hold in the picture? The inside of the forearm where the soft meat is should be on the jawline, not the bone, and your forearm across the cheekbone. You told me the minute, like, as soon as you did that, the trainers told you, what are you doing? And you fixed it.
And I fixed it. So there you go. That's really the answer.
All right. Thanks, Dave. I think that's the second time Dave sent questions. The first time he sent like 8 of them all in one. And we're all supposed to be for me, and I ended up having to guess, but I answered them at home. Adam Booker.
I know Adam Booker.
Former chaotic heavyweight champion.
Yes, Adam Booker.
Which trainer at the NEPWA do you hate the most and why? You trying to get him killed, Adam?
Yeah, seriously. To be completely honest, I don't actually hate any of the trainers. Yeah, like sometimes, I'm not going to lie, they'll piss you off sometimes.
Yeah,
I'll admit that, but I really don't hate anybody.
Right.
Like I said, yeah, they get down on you. Yeah, they do it because they want to motivate you.
Right.
And also they want you to get better. And I totally understand that. If I was just a fan and just started off, I probably wouldn't have understood it at the time. Right. But me being older and actually trying it out and trying to take it more seriously and all that, I totally agree. If you're messing up on something, fix it, and keep practicing. And that's what they want you to do. Even before class, they want you to go in the ring, practice whatever you need to practice with someone. As Johnny Vegas would say, he was like, touch each other, like learn how to do it properly. Yeah. That's Johnny Vegas. But no, I'm honored with everybody I train with, like Johnny Vegas. Trained with Brian a couple times. But he mostly works with the advanced people.
Okay.
Chase Del Monte a couple times. I mostly work with Johnny Vegas.
Big Scott.
I've worked with him a couple times. Okay. He mostly works on Wednesdays.
Okay.
He's definitely really good at body control. He's really good at that.
And big dude.
Very big dude. Scotty Slade, very good trainer. Everyone.
And
Julian Starr.
I was going to say Julian's there too, right?
Yep, Julian Starr. All the trainers are really great, and I'm blessed to have them as my trainers. And I'm not just saying that just to be a kiss ass.
No,
they really know what they're doing, and I'm very honored to have them as my teachers.
If you really answered that question, right?
Yeah.
It wouldn't do you any good, trust me.
Yeah.
And Adam knew that.
Yeah. But no, honestly, I don't hate anybody. I respect everybody that I've been training with for sure. All right.
Jesse Martineau wants to know, what has surprised you most about wrestling school?
The things that surprised me most.
The drills?
It's the drills, man. like I remember before I signed up, I was going to the gym like 4 weeks religiously just to get myself into better shape because I was like a heavy dude, and I remember I was like out of breath, and I was like, I need to really get prepared for this because I got a taste of it.
Right.
But what you do when you actually sign up is way more advanced than what you do at the fantasy camps. So I remember going to the gym like 3 or 4 times a week, and I lost like about good 10, 15 pounds before I signed up, and I was like, okay, I'm doing good.
Right.
And I did the fantasy camp. Okay. I actually did much better for the 3rd time than the last 2 times because I was trying to take it more seriously. And then when I actually did it on my first day and then really signed up, I was like, oh my God, this is like going to military school. This is like going to the Marines, man. It's crazy. And I remember I talked to Pepe, and he's been doing MMA through like 10 years.
Wow.
A long
I
time.
didn't know that.
And he even said that pro wrestling training is probably, like conditioning wise, is way more harder and way more advanced compared to MMA.
Wow.
And I'm like,
wow,
that's crazy.
Yeah.
And for a guy that has both sides to it, it shows. But yeah, the conditioning, man, it's it's crazy, but I like it.
Good.
Like some days I feel like I don't want to do this, and then when you start doing it, you're like, yeah, let's go. Some days you'll be lazy with it, and they'll be like, get your ass up, and I'll be like, I'm trying, man.
You are. You're there, right?
I'm there.
I mean, like you said, you were taking a few weeks off because of Tana's death and
My sickness
definitely
and-
being sick, but get right back in it. It's just like riding a bike, man.
Yeah,
I guarantee
exactly.
you. Give it a week, you'll be back.
Yes,
You'll be back.
for sure.
Dan Bolia wants to know, do you have a favorite person to drill with? At least this isn't bad. You know?
Yeah, no, that's not a bad question. Favorite person to drill with?
You showed me a video of who's that guy that you were doing that.
Sean Vegan. I call him Sean Vegan. He does have a last name. Sorry, Sean, but I don't know how to pronounce your last name. But no, my favorite person to drill with for sure are definitely people in the beginner's ring because I'm still in there. Honestly, I gotta throw her name out there, Maddie. Okay. Because like every time we're there early, she always says like, "Hey, do you want to work on our grappling?" And I was like, "Yeah, for sure." And she's awesome to work with, and I definitely see a lot of potential in her.
Has she been there before you?
Oh, she's been there for a solid 10 months to a year.
Oh, nice.
But I think I met her at one of the fantasy camps, and she started the same way too. But definitely Madison for sure, Maddie. So
a bunch of people have started through the fantasy camp.
Yeah, for sure.
Nice. Excellent.
But I like training with everybody.
All right. Now, your friend you mentioned earlier, Steve Urquhart.
Urquhart, you got his name correct.
See that?
You
Steve?
got it. Yeah.
All right. Do you find it hard or different to still be a fan while getting into the business?
Yeah, it's hard to be a fan because like once you sign up for it, it's totally, you look at wrestling totally differently now.
Yep.
Like I said, I haven't watched a Raw or SmackDown in the past solid 6 months since I started training. Not that I don't. I'm not gonna lie, the product out there is kind of different, but I've been keeping up with the pay-per-views. I've been keeping up with the takeovers. I've been watching AEW at Steven's house, and Steven will tell you this every single episode just to see what's going on. See what the product's like. But honestly, like everyone probably thinks, oh, he's not a fan because he doesn't watch it anymore. Guys, I've been a fan for like 16, 17 years, and I never tried to do wrestling itself until I was like at least 26, almost 27. So for me, I still consider myself a fan, and what I do now, I watch all like the older stuff that I have, like my DVDs, just to study, the moves and learn how to do them properly and how to do them correctly. Also, just to watch like the older stuff because that's like some of the stuff I was into, like the early 2000s, late 90s. That was like my jam back in the day, I guess you can say. But I'm still a wrestling fan at heart. I might not just show it as much as I used to, but I'm still a wrestling fan at heart. But it is hard, and because like now for me, I feel like I'm not a fan. I'm definitely a student, and I'm more focusing on doing it myself than worrying about like what's going on out there nowadays. But Steven knows this. We'll be going to a New Japan show in Lowell, Massachusetts.
Yeah, I heard about that. Yeah,
on Friday, I think it is, and that's my first New Japan show, so I'm looking forward to that. But yeah,
you've been to the Lowell Memorial a lot of times.
I've been to the Lowell Memorial.
That's my building. I was in that building hundreds of times.
And I tell people all the time that is the best place to go for a wrestling event. It really is. It's
no doubt.
Awesome.
I thought that question was great because I told you off air, even for myself, since I started the show, at first it was really hard going to shows.
Yeah.
And like being the same fan as I always was, I had to learn to
keep your composure.
A little bit, yeah.
And I'll tell you right now, there are times like when I'm sitting there and doing my security work, sitting there making sure everything's going properly. I watch the matches and I learn what's going on, and that's what they want us to do, and that's understandable. And I really watch what's going on, but sometimes when I see someone like take like a certain move, and there are times I'm just like, oh my god, and I try not to, but it's like so hard. But you know how hard it is to not cheer for anybody or boo anybody anymore. And even when I went to a Raw with Jim while I started training at the beginning, it was like I actually just sat there and just watch what was going on instead of cheering and having fun.
But being out at sitting there doing security at ringside should help you too with learning to like how they say, I'm not a wrestler, I'm not in the business, you know that. But like they say how sometimes you have to change things up because you have to listen to the crowd.
Oh yeah,
so you can see all that and hear that. So that's gotta help you. That should help you too.
Yeah, so you get knowledge out of it for sure.
All right. Listen, let's really talk about Tanner Hogue.
Yeah.
I didn't know Tanner like you did. I did talk to him quite a few times on Messenger and stuff. His uncle Dave is a friend of mine. It's one of Sonny's best friends. I met Dave a long time ago. He's a great guy. Tanner was a great guy.
Yes.
Tell us how you met Tanner.
So I met Tanner, and I said this at the eulogy speech when I did it. I met Tanner back in late 2008, early 2009. It was in high school. I think we were both juniors at the time, 16, 17 years old. Tanner was like into the whole like ICP thing at the time. So at the time, that's what everybody was wearing. I wasn't into that stuff, but yeah. So Tanner told me he was like really a big fan of wrestling, and we instantly clicked at the time. We were like really close back then. We were like best friends at the time. But yeah, he talked about wrestling all the time, and I'm gonna openly admit this, like I did at the funeral. He did do a little bit of backyard wrestling at the time. He was young.
A lot of pro wrestlers did too. So
But
remember that. So you don't feel bad.
Yeah. So he did this backyard wrestling show called TWA. It was called the Teens Wrestling Association. And I remember he showed me a DVD, and I remember like watching it. And of course, I was young and stupid at the time. And Tanner at the time, I'm not gonna lie, he would take some moves, man. He took like choke slams, power bombs, all that stuff. And I'm just like, Jesus, man. Yeah, like, are you trying to kill yourself?
Right.
You know? But I remember the reason why I really got into it because Tanner was very passionate about wrestling for what I've seen at a very young age. Because I remember he did like a project. I forgot what class. I think it was like a business class. And I remember he made like this giant booklet and talking about like the actual business itself. Like talking about like what's the difference between a face, difference between a heel, how you learn how to pay your wrestlers, how you pay dues, how you talk in the wrestling business, and I thought that was very like interesting.
Yeah.
So and I thought like, wow, he really knows his stuff, and I'm not gonna lie, he did at a very young age. He knew people, and I remember my first wrestling show was with him at a Liberty State back in 2010, and that's where I met Sonny. Sonny Goodspeed. So yeah, he knew some connections, I guess you can say. So I remember
his Uncle Dave was in wrestling.
Yeah,
for a bit too.
I think Dave was a referee a couple times. That I remember.
The only referee with a comb in his back pocket.
Yes,
because you know Dave.
Yeah, Dave with that hair.
He's probably combing it right now.
Oh yeah, and Dave and Tanner all like looked alike too. So every time I saw Dave, I thought of Tanner every time because he shops at Market Basket all the time. But I remember he was like, yeah, I want you to join my backyard wrestling promotion. And at the time, I was like, hell yeah. But now if I were to do it, I'd be like, no.
Well, yeah, of course.
But we were young and stupid. But yeah, so I was all about it. And I remember we did a show, I guess you can say, in my backyard. And I told him, I was like, we got to really make this look as good as possible. Right. So I remember we practice as much as we could, like actually practice and make sure we landed everything correctly and make sure we did the moves properly. And we did the show, and I remember we like set up like a stage with like a curtain, and we set up like a tarp on the floor, and we had like some of these like orange cones as like the entrance rail. And oh my god, we made like this crappy ass, and yes, I say crappy ass wrestling ring. It was so bad, but because it was still grass. Right. I remember we had like two big sticks as like the corners, and we hooked it onto the fence that we had in the backyard, and we had bungee cords, and we started putting yarn to them or whatever to make the ropes, but we didn't like run them or anything. We just made it look like we had a wrestling ring. So me and Tanner and a good friend of ours, Julio Caracini, who I became a fan of when I first met him, and me and him are good friends because Julio was born with missing fingers, so he only had fingers right there, missing fingers there. Yeah. And I remember the video that I saw. Julio was like 150 pounds, skinny as hell. Yeah. Tanner was like 220, 30 pounds because he was a heavyset guy. And he was the one that did the powerbomb to Tanner, and I was like, wow, this kid is strong. Yeah. So we ended up doing a match in the backyard, and I remember like back then I was like, oh, this is awesome. This is like a lot of fun. We had like 30 people watching, and my mom was up on the deck, and she was like, oh my God. Yeah. And
please don't let them kill themselves.
Yeah, and I remember like a couple neighbors were watching, having a beer, like, yeah, let's go. Like it was like at the time we thought it was like the coolest thing ever.
Of course, you were kids.
Yeah.
Of course.
17, 18 years old, and we called it the Belanger Bash. That was the name of the show, and because it was my birthday at the time. So yeah, we did that, and a certain person was recording, taking pictures. They didn't record it as like a full match. They kind of did like clips. Yep. And I remember I still have the DVD to this day, and I watched it about a couple weeks ago. So I remember we watched it together when it first like got together and got developed at the time. We watched that thing. I watched it probably like hundreds of times, and we went up to each other like, "Dude, we're gonna get signed by WWE, man. We're gonna become something," because we used to think it was the greatest thing in the world.
Now looking back now.
We watched. So when I found out about his passing, I found that DVD, and I watched it with Kat, and watched it with my mom, and I was like watching it. I was just like, wow, this is the most terrible thing we've ever done. And it was the most horrific wrestling. It wasn't even wrestling. It was garbage. It was absolutely garbage.
But it had to put a smile to your face knowing that you were doing with your friend who's no longer around. And I lost a lot of friends, so I know what you went through. Believe me.
Yeah, and watching that, it was crazy because there was just so many memories that was going through my head. And that was definitely one of the biggest memories. And he actually got me back into wrestling.
Yeah. Oh, okay. He got you back into it.
Yeah, because I remember I watched it from when I first started, and I took a break for it for like 2 years because I was like in high school, and of course you're trying to like impress girls and trying to impress friends and all that stuff. And then I remember like when he was talking about the show, he was just talking about it constantly, and then I just got back into it, and I started watching religiously again, and because of him.
Right.
So after high school, we still hung out for a little bit. Then, of course, he eventually had a kid. So we didn't really hung out as much. Right? Yeah, he had a son, Mason. And so we didn't really hang out as much, which is understandable because, you got to take care of your kid. And you got to be a father.
Right.
And I totally understand that. We hung out here or there throughout those years, and that was fine. But yeah, I remember he was going through a lot once his mother passed away.
Yeah.
Year before that.
Well, she was going to be married to a good friend of mine,
Jimmy
Flores, who I work with at your mama's. I love Jimmy. Jimmy's crazy guy.
I met Jim. He's a nice guy. he always took a liking to me for some odd reason. He thought I was a great guy. Oh yeah, he's out there, but he's a great guy. But I remember once that happened, that definitely tore him up a little bit, and it was crazy.
Well, and also, like, people don't know, a lot of people don't know this, that Tanner was training to be a wrestler at the WAR, WAR, wrestling.
WAW wrestling at the time.
What is it? It's called WAR, though, I think. Wrestling.
No, I don't know. It's in Manchester.
It's Revival. No, he was training with Mike King and those guys, with the guys from Atlantic Pro Wrestling.
Oh, yeah, he was. Yes.
That's what I'm talking about.
I thought you were talking about the WAW crap.
The WAR school up in Newburyport. I think it's in Newburyport, but it's Atlantic Pro Wrestling. Real quick, just to say this, I am going to be doing all the concessions at all the Atlantic Pro Wrestling shows from now on. Yep. So come and see me at Atlantic Pro Wrestling.
Yes. I remember Tanner, when he first signed up for wrestling, he signed up for WAW, and I know you know the stories. A lot of people know.
I had Delilah on here not too long ago. She's a sweetheart of a person, and a lot of guys went through that. Todd Sopel wrestled, and Todd's a pretty good worker now. May not be my biggest. I may not be his biggest fan.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna lie, the guy can work pretty good, and he's a hell of a talker.
Yes.
And he ran a great promotion.
Yes.
I think Todd has more problems with people.
Yeah.
More than, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Yeah. But I remember he was trained there for a little while, and I was like, oh, cool. And I remember the video he showed me on his phone at the time. It was like a legit wrestling ring. I was like, okay, so he's actually doing this. This is cool. Then I saw where he was actually training at and where they were doing shows.
Yeah.
So it was a boxing ring. They took the fourth rope off, and it's not even the right proper ring to wrestle in. It's a boxing ring. And also the ropes just did not make sense, and the characters didn't make sense. The wrestling, everything about it was terrible.
Right.
So I remember
they're no longer in business anymore. As far from
supposedly they're still doing it. What I've heard.
No,
they're not.
I guess it's done for now. At least that's what Delilah and them said.
All right. But I remember he was doing that, and I remember I went to that show, and I was there for only to support him.
Right.
Watched his match, and then another match, and then me and my friends booked it because we were just like, this is terrible. It was awful. Not gonna lie, it was an awful promotion. So I remember he did that for a little while, and he told me he just wasn't getting treated properly. He got treated like garbage, and I can see that with a promotion like that. So then all of a sudden, 5 years later, so this is what happened. So the last time I talked to him was on the phone. The last time we hung out was a year before this happened.
Okay.
So that was the last time we hung out was with me, him, Julio, the guy with the fingers.
Yep.
And we went to a Denny's, and Denny's was awful, but it was cool that we hung out during that time. That was the last time me and Hannah hung out. So the last time we talked was a month before his passing, and this is where it got emotional for me. Yeah. So what happened was we were hitting each other up, and he said he was going to sign up for APW, but we weren't like texting each other on Facebook. It was kind of like phone tagging a little bit because he was sending me like voice memos for like a minute, then he'll send like another one. So that's what we kept doing. So we heard each other's voices, and I have it still saved on my phone.
That's good. You should keep it too.
And I'm going to for sure. So I remember he said he was going to sign up, and he told me where he was signing up, and I was like, that's awesome. And he said, I'm going to live my dream. And I remember he said like he saw me doing it, and he's like, why can't I do it?
Yep.
Not in those exact words, but
but I know.
Yeah. So
I'm sure it got him thinking of going back to training when he saw you doing it, of course.
Sure. And
plus, I'm sorry, real quick, but he also is in the motorcycle club with Mike King.
Yeah.
One of his trainers. So that helped too, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, for sure. And so yeah, he was told me he was going to try it out, and he said, "Well, I'm not trying to make it in WWE," and because we were talking like, "What's your goals? What's this? What do you want to do?" Like we both had the same goal. We didn't want to try to go to WWE or anything. We just want to wrestle locally and just trying to live our dreams, and that's what we both wanted to do. And I remember like you knew what I was going through, Tanner, throughout my whole life because we've known each other for 10 years. He knew the personal problems I was going through. And I told him, you know, like ever since I signed up for wrestling, it saved my life, and I've been doing good. And then these were the final words that he said to me. He said, with the swearing, of course, because Tanner had a potty mouth on him. But I remember like his final words to me was just like, dude, I'm very proud of you. You've always been a good dude, and you've always, you know, you always did something and got it done. And he's like, I believe in my heart that you're gonna make it, you know, and you know, just him saying that, and that was like his final words to me. Right. For me, that was like an honor, and I'll definitely keep that in my heart forever. When I first found out about his passing, so this is how I found out. I found out the night before Summer of Chaos. Okay. So we were training, and we went to the
warehouse?
The warehouse, thank you. We went to the warehouse, and we ended up putting the truck together when it was all done. Yeah. And I got a text from a friend that I haven't hung out in a long time that was in our friend group with him, named Alyssa, and she hits me up and said, Tanner died. Tanner passed away.
Call you.
But she knew I was a busy person, so she hit me up and she's like, just so you know, Tanner passed away. And I was like, what? And I remember I go on Facebook, everyone's putting that, and I was just like, and it's weird because like still to this day, from when I found out to now, I have not cried once about it.
Really?
I really haven't. And
you will when it's time.
I'll know when it's time. Trust me, it will hit me like a sack of bricks.
Yeah, it will.
But I've been talking to my therapist about it, and I've been handling the situation very good, which I'm very proud of myself because knowing me from if I wasn't doing good mentally and physically, I probably would have handled it terribly. Right. But when I first found out, it was crazy. And then the first person I called was Kat, and she lives in Manchester. Yeah. So I was driving home from where I was, which was I think North Reading, Mass. Yeah. Called her up, and I told her that like one of my good friends passed away, and it hit me right there. And then she's like, "Well, do you want me to come over?" And I was like, "No, I don't want you to do that." And then I actually thought about it. I was like, actually, if you don't mind, do you mind coming over? And she did. She took the time out of her day.
That's good.
And she was there. And she was there for me throughout the funeral and all that. Right. And, you know, I'm blessed to have her in my life now. Seriously.
That's excellent.
But I remember I called her, and then I, called my mom about it, told her what happened, because she was pretty close with Tanner, too, at one point. It was devastating. Very devastating.
Well, your mom's a great woman. She really is. I've met her, a couple times, and she really is.
She said the same thing about you, man.
Oh, thank you.
Sure.
I really do think that. But with Tanner, with me, as I did the show with Derek. Yeah. And Derek knew Tanner. Yeah. And, he'd hit me up once in a while just saying, hey, I watched show. It was really good. We talked a few times, never met in person. Yeah. But he always was like so complimentary. Like how you're saying how he was complimentary to you and, telling you how happy he was for you and stuff. He was happy for me and Derek just doing this little indie show. And like you had said, too, how he wanted to just be a local wrestler. Yeah. Well, that's what he saw. He saw guys around here that were local wrestlers. You know what I mean? That's all they did. That's all they wanted to do. I mean, his Uncle Dave was in the business. Tanner was a great guy, and don't ever feel bad about crying over someone you love, because my brother passed 4 years ago, and I cry about him every week. I don't care what anybody says about it. I do, because I love my brother and I miss my brother. And my buddy Bobby died 2 years ago in July. I cry about him all the time too. You know something? And it helps me.
Yeah.
You know, when I'm not mentally there, I go home, I play some music. I'll play my brother's music, man. Lynyrd Skynyrd.
Yeah.
I feel better.
Yeah.
You know? And when it's time, you'll cry. And if you need to talk to somebody, don't hesitate. Call me up.
I appreciate that.
Because you can cry, scream. I'm here for you.
I appreciate
Always.
that.
You know that?
Yes.
I hope you know that.
I know that.
All
for
right.
Sure.
So, the next show for Chaotic, is it
It's going to be October
11th.
11th. It's going to be at the Sport and Fitness Center in Lowell, Massachusetts on October 11th. Tickets are on sale now at chaoticwrestling.com. For more information, you can definitely go on the Chaotic Wrestling Facebook page, or you can definitely go on the actual website itself.
Nice. I'd like to talk about, I know you weren't there, so I was there Friday night at the very last show at Woburn.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, Bob made a lot of money, I bet, on tips, the bartender. Seriously.
Probably.
I'm
I saw pictures and videos. That place was crowded.
It was a great show.
Yeah.
It really was. What blew me away was, they've been teasing MSP about breaking up. Remember they did that tag team thing where they were in different tag teams?
Yeah.
It looked like they were breaking up. Argo didn't want Danger Kid to hit him with, what do you call that thing they have? A Bowie? What is that?
The Bowie?
Thing?
Yeah.
So he says, give me that thing. And he turned.
Really?
And I literally thought they were going to, break up and feud for a while and then maybe get back together later.
Yeah.
Nope. Argo went full on heel.
Oh, jeez.
Shocked me big time.
No, that's crazy.
But what a show. It was a great show. The main event didn't have a finish. There was Verna versus Christian Casanova was a great match. And I'll tell you right now, Mike Verna is growing on me. Our friend Dan Bolio loves Verna. And I always said, there's nothing wrong with him. He just didn't do it for me. But man, I'm telling you, after Friday night, I was like, wow, that guy's good.
Yeah.
And he talked to the fans and how, like in Woburn, I don't know if Woburn was his first show for Chaotic, but he talked about how that building meant a lot to him. Mm-hmm. Chase and the Logans came out.
Yeah.
And I love the line where if Verna said that if there was no Chase of the Mill City Hooligans, there would have been no Mike Verna.
Actually, Mike Verna, before we get up there, because I know we're running out of time, Mike Verna did win his second New England championship in that building because I gave him beer that night because he wanted me, my friend Steven, we held him, and I gave him the beer in his mouth. Nice. I totally remember that, And that was an awesome moment that night, too. I remember that. So.
I'll tell you, it was a great match with Christian, and you know how I feel about Killing Over anyways. Those guys are awesome.
Yes, they are.
Did you notice that Trips and Royce Bishop went up to LPW?
The Culture,
and
tag team
beat
champions.
The Bitter Club.
Yes, that's awesome.
And Jim Burgoyne from Lucky Pro Wrestling, and hopefully Chris Sullivan will be on this show soon. I've been in talks with Jim.
Yep.
Brandon, thanks for coming on again.
Not a problem.
We're going to set it up soon, too, with Nathan. Nathan Fuller, you're going to be on soon, I promise, with both of us, and we'll have a good time, and we'll make it a WWE special. Just for Nathan.
Yes.
All right? Guys, Brandon, thanks again, bud.
Not a problem.
Take care of yourself.
Definitely.
Keep training hard.
For sure.
Later, guys. Peace.